Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk about Aero and Swordmaster, two of the new characters, two of the original Agents of Atlas characters that joined Dr. Voodoo. But first, I just want to talk quickly about the new 8-week check-in event. This is a check-in event that was duplicated in part from the original Infinity War check-in. So you got 1,200 crystals, you got a tier 2 ticket, you got rank up ticket, you've got tier 3 materials, and then you've got multiple characters, in this case 6 different characters that you can all collect at 6 stars. And it's got sort of a Halloween theme to it. Crossbones, Venom, you know, these are all villains. And they're sort of spooky characters and stuff like that. So I wanted to quickly go over those 6 characters, and I want to say I'm really thankful to Netmarble for giving out such an incredible check-in event. You know, there's basically never a dull moment for new and intermediate players in Marvel Future Fight because they're always coming up with new events and new rewards and new check-ins. And what's especially great about, you know, there's check-ins for players who are always active, and these are the most rewarding check-ins, you would say. But there are also check-ins for players who are more casual, because this is a, you know, this is a 56-day check-in, but it's got a more than 92-day expiry, which means you can miss plenty of days in between and still collect all of the rewards. As far as the characters go, this is why I tell Netmarble, and this is why I say in videos that I wish more characters would get reworked, even if it was just one character every update that got a major rework, in addition to characters getting uniforms to get reworks, you know, one or the other. But as long as there's at least 1 or 2 coming in every single update, that would be nice. But yeah, Crossbones, pretty weak character. I would not invest in him. Just unlock him at 6 stars if you don't have him yet and leave him there. Venom, he's good with the anti-venom uniform only as a striker for World Boss to heal your characters. So if you're going to get him, like, you can unlock him at 6 stars and then get his uniform, but after that, don't build him up, don't tier 2 him, he's not a good character. Ulysses Claw is a little bit better, so you could tier 2 him, but he's definitely not on the higher end of villains, and it's very unlikely that he gets a uniform. Yellow Jacket is pretty bad, so I probably would not take him to tier 2 unless you absolutely have no other characters to take to tier 2. He's pretty bad at this point, even with 1 or 2 different uniforms. Scourge, also no uniform, also probably not going to get a uniform for a long time. Also not great, not as bad as Crossbones, but still pretty bad, pretty weak, pretty much Shadowland only. And then finally we have Hela. No Morgan Le Fay, unfortunately. She is part of she was part of that old token event. Hela is also pretty bad, but it's nice that you get to unlock her here at 6 stars because you can use her when you get her uniform to Mythic for the CTP of energy. So there's probably a lot of people that haven't unlocked Hela. They haven't even built her up, but they have her uniform at Mythic because you can purchase a uniform without owning the character to get that CTP of energy. Now they'll get a free 6-star Hela, and they can actually use her for Shadowland. They can use her to buff up other characters because her uniform, if you have it, and again, you probably should have it because it gives you a free CTP of Rage, that uniform will give you and your whole team additional damage against superheroes. Right there, decreased damage received from superheroes, increased damage dealt to superheroes. So she is one of the rare characters that buffs up your team against Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch World Boss. Now, with that out of the way, with my little, you know, my thank you to Netmarble and my plea for more characters to get reworks in Marvel Future Fight, with that over, I now want to focus on the 2 new characters that we got with this update that are not Dr. Voodoo. We'll leave Dr. Voodoo for a separate video because I do definitely want to talk about him. But now I want to talk about Swordmaster and Aero because they have quite a few things in common. The way that you obtain them is completely different, but I still think there are a lot of people who are wondering about these characters. So we're going to take them into some content here. I haven't done a dedicated video for Swordmaster, I know. My build is crit damage 140 proc for him. For her, it's a double crit damage proc. So they're both rocking damage procs. They're kind of low. They both have all defense down skills. He's got one that's up to minus 45 for 5 seconds. It's a little weak, but it works. And then Aero is luckier. She has 2 all defense down skills. She's got this one here that's also 5 seconds up to minus 45, but she also has accumulation dealt, which is damage dealt. And then she also has all defense down up to minus 55, so she actually has 2 different brackets. She's got a 45 and a 55 bracket, and that 55 is up to 10 seconds. So that's a really, really good all defense down that you can pretty much have stacked up for the whole fight. She also has incredible self buffs, all attack, crit rate 35%, so she's very, very good to cap out all of her stats. He's got some self buffs as well, but it's basically just an all attack buff there, and otherwise he doesn't really have much. Well, he's got the 22% crit rate actually going for him, so you know what? They're quite similar in that sense. They buff their all attack, they buff their all defense, all crit rate, I should say, or just crit rate. There's no all crit rate. Anyways. And then they don't have attack speed buffs. But otherwise, they're built pretty similarly. She's level 66, he's level 62. So I want to take them into a little bit of action here in both World Boss and Shadowland. First things first, we've got a solo Aero. We got a solo for Aero on Shadowland stage 66. It's a pretty high stage for a character that just has a damage proc. Now, the awkward thing about Aero is that she's got a 9-second cooldown on her 5th skill. Her 5th skill does the most damage, but because you've got such a long cooldown, you really have to sort of find another skill to do damage with in the meantime. But she does quite a bit of damage with 5. 4 doesn't do that much damage, but it leaves this lingering effect, which does have some value for PvP. So you should definitely pay attention to that. I have been surprised more than once. You can see there it's got sort of that guard break action going on. So, you know, it's possible, maybe not now with Tier 3 Quicksilver, possibly in the future if she were to get a uniform, she could be deadly for PvP because of the fact that she has so many skills which appear to, because of the sort of wind damage, the nature of the wind damage, they either knock up the enemy or they guard break the enemy sort of indefinitely. So I was sort of able to lock him down, and in 1 minute I was able to do enough damage with a damage proc on level 66. So that's a pretty impressive feat for a character that doesn't have a uniform, a character that's unbuilt. You know, she's not maxed out or anything. And again, she's rocking an obelisk, just regular like stage 7 ISO 8 set. On the other hand, let's find a stage for Swordmaster. Now, Swordmaster's not terrible, and based on the fact that he's completely free to play, I would say that he is a really good character. But it really depends on how you're going to be viewing Swordmaster's power level, because if you're going to compare him to all the other characters in the game, especially non-combat types, yeah, he doesn't seem that great for a brand new character, but he's got, you know, immunity, he's got invincibility, he's got self buffs, he's got all defense down. He basically has every weapon available to him that makes him, you know, easy to play and decent. He does have some bad qualities, like he's got a weak leadership. He doesn't do that much damage, as you can see, even though he has all defense down on his skills. He's got a damage proc. He just doesn't seem to put out that much damage compared to other characters with all defense down, even in something like Shadowland. And he's got a weak leadership as well. And, you know, if you do make a mistake and he gets hit, he is kind of fragile. But he's got really cool effects. I love the way his skills look. I wish there was more that I could do with him, because I do really like the character, but I'm just kind of oversaturated with combat characters at the moment. Namor does so much work, Mr. Fantastic, you know, we got Sabretooth, you got Juggernaut, you've got a lot of characters, and then when you look at all defense down characters, we're not really lacking that many anymore. And the other problem that he has, or the other sort of awkward part of his build, is that his 1 and 2 are pretty weak, but his 5th skill is really the part that I take issue with, because you can't cancel it. If you cancel the 5th skill pretty much at any time, you're going to lose the damage. So you sort of have to, commit. Once you cast the skill, you have to commit. If you cancel at all early, you're going to lose that damage. But this is pretty impressive. A level 62 character with an obelisk is able to solo a stage 68 Rumble. Because, I mean, partially because of my cards, and actually, I don't know if we can actually solo the stage. I don't know if he'll be able to kill Black Widow in time, because it took 2 minutes to kill those 3. But if it wasn't for the damage, you can see that, like, he can definitely do it. And I think for a little tip that I have for you guys for Swordmaster, try to proc on his 5th skill. I know that his 4th skill seems like the skill to proc on because it has all defense down, but I don't think so. His 4th skill doesn't actually do that much damage. His 5th skill does quite a bit more there at the end with all those hits. So I would try to do like a 5-3-1-2-4 combo, procking on the 5th skill, laying the other skills down, using the 3rd skill for the buff, laying the 4th skill all defense down, and then if you don't proc on the 4th skill, you can see sometimes it kind of procs early, then you can proc on the 5th skill. So I'm actually not going to get this done here, but with a bit more of a build, possibly a bit better of an obelisk, it's like a 140 proc, we will be able to actually clear this. So that actually got me thinking, you know, Yeah, Swordmaster's not amazing. Swordmaster's not going to blow you away with his skills in any game mode, but you know, as far as a free character goes, he's really not bad at all. And if you compare him to other free characters, especially in the combat class, he is one of the best. You know, we talk about Namor, we talk about Mr. Fantastic, but all the Sabretooth, all those characters either cost money, crystals, or they have an incredible, you know, epic quest cost. Pretty much one of the only characters that can stand up to Swordmaster's power at tier 2, regularly speaking, is Captain America. And Captain America, like for completely free-to-play characters, or someone like Minerva, and both of those characters require uniforms in order to do that. So I do want to point that out. We're going to go in here with this team now and see how he does. I think that the quality of free characters, especially for newer players, is really going up. You know, we had Morgan Le Fay at the beginning of the year, low damage, but lots of effects, mind control, self-healing, all defense down, revive. And now at the end of 2019, and you sort of have this unskippable animation here, at the end of 2019, we're getting characters like Swordmaster who have, you know, 9 seconds of defensive abilities, 4 seconds of invincibility, or 8 seconds, I should say. 4 seconds of invincibility, 4 seconds of immunity, you know, crazy self buffs, like almost 50% all attack self buffs, crit rate buffs, all defense down, iframes, good striking bonuses, and that's really good, especially for players who are trying to push PvE content like World Boss and Shadowland. Now you can tell his damage is obviously not that hot. This is a stage 40 that he's trying to do without strikers, but the main thing I wanted to point out, that from a design perspective, I think Netmarble missed the mark here, and hopefully he'll get a uniform in the future that fixes this. If you're gonna give a character an unskippable animation, I'm talking about his 5th skill. His 5th skill is an unskippable animation because even with the SFX off, you can't turn that off. If you're going to give a character an unskippable animation, you need to do one of two things. You either need to make that skill an iframe, so that the boss, the enemy that you're targeting, doesn't move, or you need to give that skill tracking. And this is the mistake that they made with his 5th skill. They didn't give it tracking, which means that he doesn't track Proxima as she moves. And they also didn't give the skill an iframe, so Proxima, the boss, will jump away and move away from you as you're casting the skill. So that's a really big mistake that Netmarble made as far as his build goes. So yeah, you don't need to check out your SFX on or off for Swordmaster. Just you need to keep that in mind. He's not going to blow you away. He's got some obvious flaws in his gameplay, especially with his 5th skill. I'm actually quite frustrated by the fact that it doesn't have, you know, it is 9 seconds. It's 5 seconds here and it's 4 seconds here. Okay. Anyways, he does have some obvious gameplay flaws, so if you're going to invest in him, you do need to take that into consideration and you need to play around that. But otherwise, I think he's in a perfect position to be utilized for new accounts, for new players. He's easy to play. He's got lots of defensive and offensive capabilities. He just doesn't hit that hard compared to like tier 3s and characters with uniforms and stuff like that. So the tricky thing that I found is trying to keep Aero alive, because her damage is actually pretty good, but her survivability can definitely be frustrating at times. Even though she has 3 iframes, they are kind of short, and the cooldown on her 5th skill is very long. But when you can get these, like you can see that when the damage actually works effectively, and especially if you can combo 3 and, come on. Especially when you can combo 3, 4, and 5, because 3 has all defense down and accumulation, 4 leaves this huge orb that continuously hits the enemy, and then 5 just has good damage with all defense down. But when you combo all of these things, it actually works really well in her favor. But the tricky part is getting that to work all together at the same time, and also then managing her skill cooldown, because the frustrating thing about Aero that I found is that her cooldown, her cooldown causes her to proc on the wrong skill, but she does a lot of damage. Like the end of her 4th skill where that thing erupts, does quite a bit of damage. You just can't really face tank with Aero. But yeah, she is not bad at all. You might want to bring, if you're going to fight Corvus, you might want to bring along Wasp for the debuff, because she does get hit and she does take damage from his bleed and also from sort of poison effects on the ground. But yeah, proccing on 4 and then following up with 3, not a bad way to go. And then boom with the 5, dropping the... And the nice thing is, so the 4th skill drops that huge white orb, kind of like Jean Grey's 5th, kind of like Sharon Rogers' old uniform 5th. That orb will continue to hit, so if you stack all defense down on it after it hits, that adds even more damage. So she's got a lot of synergistic abilities. It's just a matter of being able to put them all together. Additionally, I've actually fought against an Aero in PvP, and she wasn't that bad. I think I'm dead here. Yeah. But the fact that she's able to do stage 50, so like she was doing enough damage, it's just quite difficult to keep her alive. The fact that she can do up to stage 50 with just an obelisk means that she's definitely an above average paywall character. Now, she's going to be compared to Nick Fury, she's going to be compared to Ghost Panther, she's going to be compared to Luna Snow. I don't think she's on their level because she doesn't have any of the utility or the support that those characters have, and then she's also not as good as Luna, she's not as good as Namor or Gambit and those kinds of characters yet. But I do think she was probably going to get a uniform in the future because this character is new and they want to give, you know, these characters a lot of love and a lot of different looks. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gets the same sort of treatment as someone like Luna, especially because she's a speed type and she's also premium. And she does have some cool abilities, like Wings of the Wind is actually a really interesting passive. I think I've suggested this before in the past, but basically this can make her really annoying to deal with in PvP. Because you hit her, her guaranteed dodge spikes up to almost Ant-Man levels for 2 seconds. And then if you don't hit her in those 2 seconds and she goes into an iframe, that 5-second cooldown will expire and then it'll just keep happening. And so she'll be either in an iframe where you can't hit her unless you're Captain Marvel or someone like that, or she'll come out of iframe and you hit her and she bumps up her guaranteed dodge and you can't hit her. Now, this, of course, requires a couple of things to work. She has to have enough base HP to survive the first hit, and the 50% chance needs to land. If this was a 100% chance, if this just worked all the time, I think she would be definitely in contention for heavy PvP usage as an alternative to something like Tier 3 Quicksilver, but it's not the case right now. But one other thing that I wanted to proffer up to you guys, especially if you're not going to use something like a CTP of Rage that really fixes some of her issues in terms of skill rotations and sort of timing of different skills, because she has a lot of long cooldowns. She's got 18 seconds on 5, she's got 16 seconds on 4, and 16 seconds on 3. So she actually has a lot of skills with really long cooldown, which is bad for PvP. And only really good for a Rage CTP, or sort of less bad. I would say maybe don't give her attack speed. Weird suggestion, I know, but I'm thinking about it now, and I gave her attack speed to bump her up to 122.5 because of Power of Angry Hulk. I would say maybe if you wanted to try it, don't give her attack speed. Drop her attack speed to 115 or lower, and see if she can actually be better and stay in iframe longer, because less attack speed means more animation time, which means more times in iframe, and then that might be able to protect her as well. So yeah, interesting characters. I definitely think they're very above average for being first-time characters in Marvel Future Fight. If you compare them to characters that we got last year or the year before, they're way above the general power level, and Aero especially is coming into the game way ahead of most of the existing paywall characters to start with. Like, she's, you know, head and shoulders above characters like Enchantress, Carnage, Hyperion, Ironheart, Kid Kaiju, Agent Venom. You know, maybe I'd say Spider-Man 2099 with the uniform is better, and Luna Snow, but she's way better than Quasar, Killmonger, Ghost, Nadia. We got Nadia last year. Think about that. How garbage Nadia is in comparison to even Swordmaster and Aero. So the quality of characters that we're getting is definitely rising a lot. It's just that comparing these to Tier 3 characters, are they going to match up? Of course not. So let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you. Take care.